Marcus Johnson pulled his old truck into the back parking lot of Luxury Motors. He parked far away from the shiny new cars that filled the front lot. The morning sun reflected off the dealership's glass windows. Marcus took a deep breath and looked at himself in the rearview mirror. His face showed the years of hard work that had made him rich. But today, no one would see him as a wealthy businessman. Marcus put on a worn blue cap and stepped out of his truck. He carried a small bag with his lunch inside. He walked slowly toward the back entrance of the building. His new janitor uniform felt stiff and scratchy against his skin. "This is the only way to know the truth," Marcus said to himself. He had just bought Luxury Motors 3 weeks ago, but he kept it a secret. He heard many stories about how badly the managers treated the workers here. Instead of coming in as the boss, he decided to work as a janitor first. He wanted to see everything with his own eyes. The back door was unlocked. Marcus slipped inside and found the janitor's closet. It was small and smelled like cleaning products. He put his lunch on a shelf and looked at the schedule taped to the wall. His first job was to clean the main showroom before customers arrived. Marcus grabbed a mop and bucket. He filled it with water and soap, then pushed it out to the shiny showroom floor. The room was filled with expensive cars. Their perfect paint jobs gleamed under the lights. Marcus started mopping near the entrance, working slowly and carefully. "Hey, you must be the new cleaning guy," a loud voice called out. Marcus turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit walking toward him. The man had a name tag that read Richard Barnes, General Manager. "Yes, sir. My name is Marcus," he said quietly. Richard looked Marcus up and down with cold eyes. "Well, Marcus, at Luxury Motors, we expect everything to be perfect. These cars cost more than you'll make in 10 years. Don't touch them. Don't even breathe on them too hard. Understand?" "Yes, sir," Marcus said. He kept his eyes down, but he was studying Richard carefully. "The last janitor was fired because he couldn't follow simple instructions," Richard continued. "Don't make me regret hiring you." Marcus nodded and continued mopping. Richard walked away to his office without saying another word. From the corner of his eye, Marcus saw other employees watching. Some looked sorry for him. Others quickly looked away and pretended to be busy. As the morning went on, Marcus cleaned quietly and washed everything. He saw how Richard spoke sweetly to rich-looking customers, but ignored others who looked like they had less money. He noticed how Richard yelled at the salespeople when they didn't make a sale. A young woman named Sarah was the only person who smiled at Marcus. When she walked by, she said, "Hi there. Can I get you some water? It's hot in here today." "Thank you," Marcus said, surprised by her kindness. "I'm Marcus." "I'm Sarah. Don't worry about Richard. He treats everyone that way at first. Some of us just learn to avoid him." Before Sarah could say more, Richard's voice boomed across the showroom. "Sarah, stop chatting with the help and get back to work. Those cars won't sell themselves." Sarah gave Marcus an apologetic look and hurried away. Marcus continued mopping, but now he was even more sure that his plan was necessary. The business he had just bought needed big changes. By lunchtime, Marcus had cleaned the entire showroom floor. His back hurt, and his hands were rough from the cleaning chemicals. He sat alone in the janitor's closet eating his sandwich. Through the thin walls, he could hear Richard in his office, laughing loudly on the phone about how he had put the new janitor in his place. Marcus smiled to himself. Richard had no idea who he really was. And soon, everything at Luxury Motors would change. Marcus arrived early for his second day at Luxury Motors. The morning was quiet as he cleaned the windows in the front showroom. He could see his reflection in the glass. No one would guess that he owned 20 companies across the country. In his janitor uniform, people only saw what they wanted to see. The dealership started to fill with employees around 8 o'clock. Marcus kept his head down as he emptied trash cans. He listened to conversations and watched how people acted when they thought no one important was looking. "Morning, Marcus," Sarah said as she passed by. She was carrying a stack of folders and seemed in a hurry. "Good morning," Marcus replied with a smile. "Busy day ahead." Richard called a sales meeting. "He's not happy with yesterday's numbers," she whispered before rushing away. Marcus moved his cleaning cart near the conference room. He pretended to dust the plants nearby while Richard's loud voice carried through the door. "This is unacceptable," Richard shouted at his sales team. "Luxury Motors has a reputation to maintain. If you can't sell these cars, I'll find people who can." Marcus watched through the glass as Richard pointed at sales charts. The employees looked nervous. One young man tried to explain something, but Richard cut him off. "No excuses. Johnson's Auto Group is trying to buy us out. If our numbers don't improve, we'll all lose our jobs when those people take over." Marcus almost laughed out loud. Richard had no idea that those people included the man currently cleaning his office. After the meeting, Richard stormed out and nearly knocked over Marcus's mop bucket. "Watch where you put your things," Richard snapped. "And the bathroom on the east side needs cleaning. Someone was sick in there." "Right away, sir," Marcus said. He noticed how Richard didn't even look him in the eye when speaking to him. The bathroom was worse than Marcus expected. He spent an hour scrubbing and cleaning. His hands were red and sore from the strong chemicals. Just as he finished, Richard walked in. "You missed a spot," Richard said, pointing to a tiny mark on the mirror. "Do it again. And when you're done, the trash in my office needs emptying." Marcus nodded and started cleaning the mirror again. He could feel his anger rising, but kept it hidden. This was exactly why he needed to see the dealership from this angle. At lunch, Marcus sat on a bench outside. He watched customers come and go. Richard greeted white customers warmly, leading them to the best cars. But when a black family in nice clothes asked about a luxury SUV, Richard directed them to the used car section without asking about their budget. Sarah approached the family after Richard left. Marcus watched as she showed them the new cars they had asked about. Soon, they were smiling and filling out paperwork. That afternoon, Marcus cleaned around the sales floor. He overheard Richard talking to one of his friends on the phone. "Yeah, we got this new janitor. Another one of those affirmative action hires. I bet. Can barely understand English." Richard laughed loudly. "Don't worry. He's just here to clean the toilets." Marcus took a deep breath. He had built his business empire by staying calm when others would lose their temper. He wrote down Richard's words in the small notebook he kept in his pocket. Near closing time, Richard called out to Marcus in front of several employees and customers. "Hey, janitor, there's coffee spilled over here. Come clean it up now." Richard's voice was extra loud, making sure everyone turned to look. Marcus walked over slowly. He could feel all eyes on him as he knelt down to clean the spill. Richard stood over him, checking his expensive watch impatiently. "People like you need to learn to work faster," Richard muttered, just loud enough for nearby people to hear. Marcus said nothing. But as he cleaned, he made another decision. His original plan had been to work undercover for a month. Now he knew that 1 week would be more than enough. The third day at Luxury Motors was busy. A big sale was happening, and the showroom was full of customers. Marcus moved around with his cleaning cart, picking up trash and wiping down surfaces. He watched Richard move from customer to customer, his fake smile appearing and disappearing depending on what they were wearing or driving. "Our premium models are right this way," Richard said to a man in an expensive suit. Minutes later, he told an older woman in simple clothes, "You might be more comfortable at our sister location across town. They have more affordable options." Marcus wrote everything down in his small notebook when no one was looking. By noon, he had filled 3 pages with notes about Richard's behavior and sales tactics. During lunch, Marcus sat in his truck and made a phone call. "Lisa, it's me," he said to his lawyer. "I need you to prepare some documents. I'm making changes at Luxury Motors sooner than we planned." After lunch, Marcus cleaned the break room. The sales team was having cake for someone's birthday. They didn't invite him to join, but they also didn't clean up their mess. He wiped frosting off tables, and picked up paper plates from the floor while listening to their conversation. "Richard's in a good mood today," one salesman said. "He just closed a deal on that black sports car. Made the customer pay $5,000 over the asking price." "How did he manage that?" another asked. "Changed the numbers on the paperwork after they agreed to the price. Added some fake fees. They never even noticed." Marcus stopped wiping. He picked up his notebook again and added this information. What Richard was doing wasn't just mean, it was against the law. Later that afternoon, Marcus was mopping near Richard's office when he heard arguing inside. The door was slightly open, and Marcus could see Richard talking to Sarah. "You're undermining me," Richard said angrily. "That family yesterday was clearly looking for used cars. They specifically asked about new SUVs," Sarah replied. "They could afford it. They ended up buying our most expensive model." "That's not the point," Richard said, his voice getting louder. "When I direct customers somewhere, you follow my lead. I'm the manager here." "Is it because they were black?" Sarah asked quietly. Richard's face turned red. "You're on thin ice, Sarah. One more comment like that, and you can clean out your desk." Marcus moved his mop closer to the door, pretending not to hear. "I've been keeping track," Sarah continued, holding up her phone. "You've directed every non-white customer to used cars or cheaper models for the past month, regardless of what they asked for or how they were dressed. Are you recording me?" Richard grabbed for her phone. "No, just taking notes." Sarah pulled her phone away. "But maybe I should start recording." "You're fired," Richard shouted. "Get out now." Sarah stood her ground. "Fire me for making sales. For helping customers find what they want. I'm your top seller this month." Richard lowered his voice. "Fine, but you're on probation. One mistake and you're gone." After Sarah left, Richard slammed his door shut. Marcus continued mopping, but he had heard enough. He finished his work quickly and then went to find Sarah in the break room. "Rough day?" he asked, emptying the trash can. Sarah sighed. "Just the usual." Richard being Richard. She looked tired, but not defeated. "You stood up to him," Marcus said. "That was brave." "Someone has to," she replied. "This place could be so much better with different management. The new owner is supposed to visit soon. Maybe things will change." Marcus nodded. "Maybe sooner than you think." That evening, after everyone had left, Marcus stayed behind. He told the security guard he needed to finish cleaning. Once alone, he went into Richard's office and checked the sales records. Everything Sarah had said was true. Richard was overcharging customers and adding fake fees. He was steering certain customers away from expensive cars regardless of their budget. Marcus took pictures of the documents with his phone. Then he called Lisa again. "I've seen enough," he told his lawyer. "Let's move up the timeline. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day at Luxury Motors." Marcus arrived at Luxury Motors early on the fourth day. The sun was just rising as he pulled into the parking lot. Today would be different. He had his regular clothes in a bag, hidden in his truck. But first, he wanted to see how Richard would act on a normal morning. Marcus mopped the showroom floor quietly. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a text from Lisa, his lawyer. "Documents ready. Meeting set for 2 p.m. Richard arrived at 9, walking past Marcus without a word. He carried a coffee cup and dropped his expensive coat on a chair for someone else to hang up. Marcus watched as Richard went straight to his office and closed the door. A few minutes later, a young black couple walked into the dealership. They were well-dressed and looked excited. Marcus recognized the signs of first-time buyers. The couple looked around at the shiny cars with big smiles. "Good morning," the man said to Marcus. "We're looking to buy our first car together. Just got married last month." "Congratulations," Marcus replied with a genuine smile. "Someone will be with you soon." Richard emerged from his office and scanned the showroom. He saw the couple and frowned slightly. Then he noticed a wealthy-looking white family entering the dealership. Richard hurried past the young couple without a word and greeted the family warmly. "Welcome to Luxury Motors. I'm Richard Barnes, the manager. How can I help you today?" The young couple stood awkwardly, watching as Richard led the family to the most expensive cars. Marcus felt his anger rising. He put down his mop and walked toward the couple. "Let me find someone to help you," he said kindly. Marcus found Sarah at her desk. "There's a nice young couple who need help." Richard walked right past them. Sarah sighed. "Again. I'll help them right away." As Sarah went to greet the couple, Richard noticed. He quickly ended his conversation with the family and stormed across the showroom. "Sarah, I need you to help this family. They're looking at our premium models." "I'm just helping these customers first," Sarah explained. "They came in earlier." Richard's face turned red. "I decide who helps which customers in my dealership." He turned to the young couple. "I'm sorry, but our entry-level models are currently sold out. Perhaps try again next month." The husband looked confused. "But there are several on the lot. We saw them when we drove in." "Those are reserved," Richard lied. "Sarah, come with me now." The couple looked embarrassed and hurt. They turned to leave. Marcus couldn't stay quiet any longer. "Wait," he called to the couple. Then he turned to Richard. "Those cars aren't reserved. You're lying to them." Richard's eyes widened with shock and then anger. "You're fired. Get out of my dealership now." The entire showroom went silent. Customers and employees all turned to watch. "Know what? That's fine," Marcus said calmly. He removed his janitor's cap and looked Richard directly in the eyes. "Because this isn't your dealership anymore." Richard laughed. "What are you talking about, janitor?" "My name is Marcus Johnson," he said clearly, "of Johnson's Auto Group. I purchased Luxury Motors 3 weeks ago." The color drained from Richard's face. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "That's not possible," Richard finally managed to say. "It's very possible," Marcus replied. "I've been working undercover as a janitor to see how this dealership treats its customers and employees, and I've seen more than enough." The young couple were still standing near the door, watching with wide eyes. The other customers and employees looked equally shocked. "Sarah," Marcus called, "would you please help this lovely couple find their first car? Show them our full range, including our premium models if that's what they're interested in." Sarah's face broke into a huge smile. "Absolutely, Mr. Johnson." Richard found his voice again. "This is some kind of joke. You can't be Marcus Johnson." "My lawyer will be here at 2 o'clock with all the paperwork," Marcus said calmly. "Until then, Richard, I suggest you stay in your office and don't speak to any more customers." Richard's face turned from white to red again. "You can't do this. You tricked me." "No," Marcus replied. "I simply gave you the chance to show your true character. And you did, every single day." The showroom remained silent as Richard stormed off to his office and slammed the door. Marcus stood tall in his janitor's uniform, no longer pretending to be someone he wasn't. Employees stared at him with wide eyes and open mouths. "Everyone, please continue with your day," Marcus said in a calm voice. "We'll have a staff meeting this afternoon to discuss changes. Until then, focus on helping our customers." People started moving again, but the whispers grew louder. Marcus walked over to his cleaning cart and began to push it toward the supply closet. "Mr. Johnson," a voice called. It was David, one of the salesmen who had always ignored Marcus when he was cleaning. "Can I help you with that?" "No thank you, David," Marcus replied. "I can handle it." Marcus stored his cleaning supplies and then went to his truck. He grabbed the bag with his regular clothes and changed in the employee bathroom. When he emerged wearing a tailored suit, the transformation was complete. No one would mistake him for a janitor now. Sarah approached him as he walked through the showroom. She had just finished helping the young couple pick out a car. "Mr. Johnson," she said, still looking surprised. "I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me?" I needed to see how people behaved when they thought no one important was watching, Marcus explained. You were kind to me when I was just a janitor. That says a lot about your character. Sarah smiled. So what happens now? Now we make this dealership what it should be, Marcus said. A place where everyone is treated with respect, both customers and employees. Through the glass walls of his office, they could see Richard on the phone, gesturing angrily. His face was still red with anger and embarrassment. At 1 o'clock, Marcus called all the employees together in the conference room. Richard refused to join them, staying in his office with the door locked. I want to explain why I did what I did, Marcus told the staff. I've built my business on 2 simple principles: respect and honesty. Before buying any company, I like to see if those values are already in place. He showed them his notebook with all the problems he had found. Discrimination against customers based on race, fake fees added to contracts, employees bullied and humiliated. This stops today, Marcus said firmly. Luxury Motors will be a place where every customer gets our best service, regardless of how they look or what they wear, and every employee deserves to be treated with respect. Some of the staff looked down at their shoes, embarrassed by how they had treated him. Others nodded in agreement with his words. I'm making some immediate changes, Marcus continued. First, Sarah will be our new general manager. Sarah's eyes grew wide with surprise. Me? But I'd only been in sales for 3 years. You've shown integrity and kindness, Marcus replied. Those qualities are harder to find than experience. At 2 o'clock, Lisa arrived with the legal documents. She and Marcus went to Richard's office and knocked on the door. Richard finally opened it, looking defeated. The papers are ready for your signature, Lisa explained. As discussed in your contract, your position can be terminated if the new owner finds evidence of discrimination or illegal business practices. You can't prove anything, Richard said weakly. Marcus placed his notebook on the desk and showed Richard his phone with pictures of the altered contracts. I have all the proof I need. Richard's shoulders slumped. Without another word, he signed the termination papers. You have until the end of the day to clean out your desk, Marcus told him. A security guard will stay with you while you do. As Richard packed his things, employees and customers watched through the glass walls. The man who had humiliated others was now being humiliated himself. By the end of the day, Richard was gone. His office door, which once had a sign reading General Manager, now had a new one. Sarah Mitchell, General Manager. Marcus stood in the showroom, watching as Sarah confidently helped a customer. He knew that his undercover days were over, but the real work of transforming Luxury Motors was just beginning. 1 week had passed since Marcus revealed his true identity. Luxury Motors looked the same from the outside, but inside, everything was different. The atmosphere was lighter. Employees smiled more. Customers of all backgrounds received the same excellent service. Marcus sat in his new office, reviewing the changes they had made. He had removed the fancy furniture that Richard had used to show off his importance. Instead, Marcus chose simple, comfortable pieces that made people feel welcome. Sarah knocked on his open door. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Always," Marcus replied. "How's your first week as manager going?" Sarah came in and sat down. "Better than I expected. The team has really stepped up. Our sales are actually higher than last month." "That doesn't surprise me," Marcus said. "When people feel respected, they do better work." "There is one issue we need to discuss," Sarah said, opening her folder. "We've had 3 customers come back who were overcharged by Richard. They found out about what happened from the news story. The local newspaper had run a story about Marcus's undercover operation. The headline read, 'Millionaire goes undercover as janitor. Exposes discrimination at luxury car dealership. Refund their money immediately,' Marcus said without hesitation. 'With an additional discount on their next service. We need to fix Richard's mistakes.' Sarah nodded and made a note. 'Also, the old janitor Richard fired before you came. I found him. His name is Joe. He has 3 kids and hasn't found another job yet. Offer him his position back with better pay, Marcus said, and apologize on behalf of the company. As they discussed more business, Marcus's phone rang. It was the front desk. "Mr. Johnson, there's someone here to see you. He says his name is Richard Barnes." Marcus and Sarah exchanged surprised looks. "Send him in," Marcus said. Richard walked into the office a minute later. He looked different. His expensive suit was gone, replaced by casual clothes. The arrogant look on his face had disappeared. "Mr. Johnson," Richard said quietly, "thank you for seeing me." "Have a seat," Marcus offered. "What can I do for you?" Richard sat down, looking uncomfortable. "I've been trying to find another job, but everyone has heard what happened." He took a deep breath. "No dealership will hire me." "That's not surprising," Marcus said honestly. "You broke the law and discriminated against customers." Richard looked down at his hands. "I know. I'm not here to ask for my job back. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." Sarah raised her eyebrows, clearly not believing him. "What exactly are you sorry for?" Marcus asked. "For how I treated you," Richard said, "and others. I thought being tough and looking out for certain customers was good business. I was wrong." Marcus studied Richard's face, trying to see if he was sincere. Apology accepted. "But actions mean more than words." "That's why I'm here," Richard continued. "I'm starting a community program teaching young people about car maintenance. I thought maybe you might support it." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Why should I trust you with something like that?" "You shouldn't," Richard admitted. "Not yet. But everyone deserves a second chance to prove themselves." "That's what I learned from all this." Marcus thought for a moment. "I won't fund your program directly, but I will offer free space in our service department on Sundays for your classes. If it goes well for 6 months, we can discuss more support." Relief washed over Richard's face. "Thank you. I won't let you down." After Richard left, Sarah looked at Marcus. "Do you really think he's changed?" "I don't know," Marcus answered honestly. "But I believe in giving people the chance to change, just like I gave this dealership a chance." That afternoon, Marcus walked through the showroom. He saw diverse customers being helped by attentive salespeople. He saw employees working together without fear of being humiliated. Most importantly, he saw a business that reflected his values. The young couple who had almost been turned away last week returned to pick up their new car. They smiled when they saw Marcus. "Mr. Johnson," the husband said, shaking his hand, "thank you for what you did. Not just for us, but for everyone." Marcus smiled. "I was just doing what was right." "Well, it made a difference," the wife added. "Our friends are coming here now too. Word is spreading that Luxury Motors treats everyone with respect." That, Marcus thought, was the greatest success of all. 3 months had passed since Marcus Johnson revealed himself as the owner of Luxury Motors. The dealership was thriving. Sales were up 30%. Customer satisfaction scores had never been higher. Sarah had proven herself to be an excellent manager, just as Marcus had expected. But not everything was perfect. On a rainy Monday morning, Marcus arrived at the dealership to find Sarah waiting for him with a worried look on her face. "We have a problem," she said as soon as he walked in. "Our biggest supplier is raising prices next month. If we pass those costs to customers, we'll lose our advantage over competitors." Marcus nodded, taking the paperwork from her. "Let's look at the numbers together. There must be a solution." They spent the morning reviewing costs and making phone calls. By lunch, they had negotiated a better deal with the supplier based on their increased sales volume. The crisis was avoided. "You handled that well," Marcus told Sarah as they grabbed sandwiches from the deli across the street. "You didn't panic. You came with the problem and ideas for solutions." Sarah smiled. "I learned from watching you. You never seem worried, even when things go wrong." "I've faced bigger problems," Marcus admitted. "When I started my first business, I nearly lost everything twice. but each problem taught me something valuable. As they walked back to the dealership, they saw a familiar face. Joe, the janitor who had been rehired, was carefully cleaning the big glass windows at the entrance. "Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Mitchell," Joe said with a smile. "How's it going, Joe?" Marcus asked. "Much better now, sir. My oldest son started college last week. The raise you gave me made that possible." Marcus smiled. Small changes could make big differences in people's lives. That was why he did what he did. That afternoon, Marcus decided to check on Richard's community program. He drove to the service department, which was closed to regular customers on Mondays. Inside, he found Richard teaching a group of teenagers how to change oil and check tire pressure. Richard looked different now. He wore simple work clothes and spoke respectfully to the young people. When he saw Marcus, he waved him over. "Everyone, this is Mr. Johnson," Richard said to the class. "He's the one who provided this space for our program." A young girl raised her hand. "Are you really the billionaire who worked as a janitor?" Marcus laughed. "The news exaggerated a bit. I'm not a billionaire, but yes, I did work as a janitor to learn about this dealership." "Why would you do that?" a teenage boy asked. "You could have just fired everyone you didn't like." "Because that wouldn't solve the real problems," Marcus explained. "To fix something, you need to understand it first. Sometimes the only way to truly understand is to experience it yourself." Richard nodded. "That's what we're learning here too. Understanding how cars work helps us take better care of them." After the class, Richard showed Marcus the progress they had made. 15 local teenagers had enrolled in the program. 3 had already found part-time jobs at auto shops. "You're doing good work here," Marcus told Richard. "I'm impressed." "Thank you," Richard said. "This program has taught me as much as it's taught them. I was wrong about a lot of things." As Marcus drove back to his office, he thought about how much had changed. Richard was finding a better path. Sarah was growing into her leadership role. The dealership was serving all customers fairly. That evening, Marcus called a staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the showroom, curious about the announcement. "I wanted to thank all of you," Marcus said. 3 months ago, this place needed major changes. You've all worked hard to make those changes happen." He unveiled a large chart showing their improved sales and customer satisfaction scores. "Because of your efforts, Luxury Motors will be expanding. We're opening a second location across town next month, and everyone here will receive a bonus based on our increased profits." The room erupted in applause and cheers. Marcus smiled as he watched their happy faces. This was why he had gone undercover. Not just to find problems, but to create solutions that helped everyone succeed. As the celebration continued, Marcus quietly slipped away to his office. On his desk was a framed photo of himself as a young man, working his first job, as a janitor at a small garage. That experience had taught him the importance of respecting every person, regardless of their position. It was a lesson he had never forgotten. 6 months had passed since Marcus Johnson's undercover operation at Luxury Motors. The dealership had changed completely. The staff worked as a team. Customers from all backgrounds felt welcome. The second location was already breaking sales records. On a bright spring morning, Marcus called Sarah into his office for an important meeting. She had grown more confident in her role as general manager. Her hair was styled differently now, and she wore professional suits instead of the simple clothes she used to wear. "I have some news," Marcus said when Sarah sat down. "Johnson Auto Group is expanding again. We're buying 3 more dealerships across the state." "That's wonderful," Sarah replied. "Will you go undercover at those places too?" She smiled, knowing his methods well by now. "Not this time," Marcus laughed. "I'm sending someone else." Sarah looked curious. "Who?" "You," Marcus said simply. Sarah's eyes widened. "Me? But I've never done anything like that." 6 months ago, you'd never been a general manager either, Marcus pointed out. "But you learned quickly. You understand our values, and what we're trying to build. Sarah thought for a moment. What exactly would I be doing? Working at each dealership for 1 week, in different roles, not as a manager, but as a regular employee. Then reporting back what needs to change, and who will run luxury motors while I'm gone. Marcus smiled. That's the other part of my news. I'm promoting you to regional director. You'll oversee all 5 dealerships, including the 3 new ones. Sarah sat back in her chair, shocked. Regional director? But that's such a big job. You've earned it, Marcus said. The changes you've made here prove that. Later that day, they called a staff meeting to announce Sarah's promotion. Everyone applauded and congratulated her. She had earned their respect through her fair treatment and hard work. After the meeting, Marcus found Joe cleaning near the service area. "Joe, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course, Mr. Johnson," Joe replied, putting down his cleaning supplies. "With Sarah being promoted, we need a new general manager for this location," Marcus said. "I'd like to offer you a chance to apply for a position in sales first, and if that goes well, you could work your way up to management." Joe looked stunned. "Me? But I'm just a janitor." Marcus smiled kindly. "There's no such thing as just a janitor. Every job has value. I started as a janitor myself. What matters is your character and willingness to learn." "I don't know what to say," Joe replied, his voice full of emotion. "Say you'll think about it," Marcus suggested. "The position starts with training, so you'll learn everything you need to know." That weekend, Marcus visited the community center where Richard's program had expanded. Now there were 30 students learning various aspects of car repair and maintenance. 3 graduates of the program had been hired at Luxury Motors Service Department. Richard greeted Marcus with a firm handshake. "Perfect timing. We're just about to celebrate our 6-month anniversary." The classroom was decorated with balloons and a banner. Students proudly showed off the skills they had learned. Parents thanked Richard and Marcus for giving their children new opportunities. During the celebration, Richard took Marcus aside. "I need to thank you properly," he said. "6 months ago, I was at my lowest point. I deserved to lose my job for how I treated people." "People can change," Marcus replied. "You've proven that." "The community program is making a difference," Richard continued. "But I've been thinking about doing more. I want to start a scholarship fund for these kids. Help them go to technical school or college." "That's an excellent idea," Marcus said. "Johnson Auto Group will match whatever funds you raise." Richard's eyes widened. "Really? That would be amazing." As they rejoined the celebration, a young woman approached them. She was one of the program's first students. "Mr. Barnes, Mr. Johnson," she said excitedly. "I got accepted to the automotive engineering program at the State University." They congratulated her warmly. As Marcus watched the young people celebrating their achievements, he felt a deep satisfaction. This was the true measure of success, not just profits, but positive change in people's lives. That evening, as Marcus drove home, he reflected on the journey of the past 6 months. What had started as a simple undercover operation had grown into something much bigger. Lives had been changed, including his own. He had been reminded of where he came from and why his principles mattered. Sometimes, he thought, you have to go back to your beginnings to move forward. His week as a janitor had brought him full circle, reconnecting him with the values that had built his success in the first place.